Hello and welcome everybody to today's webinar, as usually hosted by the Open Telekom Cloud community portal. Today we have again two guests together with us. At one hand, we have Tino Fenley here. He is the product manager of the security services squad, and he have brought his colleague Sebastian Hammer with him. He is the product owner of the security services squad. So you see, the most important two guys from security services side are here together with us, and they will give us some cool information about a new to be released service, the Cloud Firewall service. So you can expect this hopefully pretty soon to be available for you as an end customer. And today you get here a very early information and showcase what to expect of this service. With this, I will at first hand over to Tino. So let's have a good webinar, and the stage is yours, Tino.
Yes, thank you for handing over. Good morning, everybody, also from my side. Today, we want to explore the new service, Cloud Firewall. Who is we? We are myself. Tino is my name. I'm the product manager for security services at OTC. You may know me from various previous community webinars, for example, for the web application firewall, the WAF, or the previous host security service webinar for HSS. I have brought with me Sebastian, my colleague. Maybe you want to also say two sentences about yourself.
Good morning, everyone. Sebastian here. As mentioned before, product owner, security services squad, and also working in security fields for OTC since 2016, and therefore also deputy for information security officer, Ralph. Interested with passion for security, so happy to show you some new security service today here.
Yes, thank you. We will hear from you later. So let's talk about what we do today. Firstly, I want to give you a brief overview about our security portfolio. Then, of course, the main topic will be the exploring the introduction of the Cloud Firewall service itself. We talk about the internet border protection and, of course, attack defense as some main topics. Give a live demo. Then we wrap it up with some takeaways, and at the end there is a Q&A session. So let's start with our security services portfolio, where we are, where we want to be. What is our vision? What is our mission? So we want to introduce or to provide a state-of-the-art cloud security center as a centralized platform for threat detection and alarm management for our customers on the Open Telekom Cloud. This security center we want to provide should include all necessary items. First of all, we have, for example, compute and container, where we already introduced the host security service as a new service to protect and monitor your endpoints. Then we have the network part, where we already have various services, and the Cloud Firewall will pay into. We also have a database security service. Later on, we also want to provide security monitoring for your assets, like your users, your OBS buckets, for all cloud platform items. And later on, also introduce more security services into our third-party framework, meaning the OTC marketplace. That is our vision. What do we currently have in our portfolio? Let me just briefly wrap it up. First of all, we have Identity and Access Management, IAM, for managing your identities and permissions. Then we have the Key Management Service to encrypt data at rest. And we have the network protection side for anti-DDoS and web application firewall to protect your workloads from attack, where then also the Cloud Firewall pay into later. What do we have next? We have the database security service to audit your database and generate security reports. And we have the host security service as the latest service to protect your virtual machines and your containers. And now we introduce the Cloud Firewall to protect your network traffic against intrusions. What did we do so far? How do we expand our portfolio? We started in the beginning with anti-DDoS and WAF for network protection. Then we went further with the dedicated WAF and also database security. We just recently released the host security service, as said. Now is Cloud Firewall. And afterwards, we want to combine everything into a security dashboard as a central platform, as I just introduced in our vision. So let's come to our new service, Cloud Firewall. Why do we need Cloud Firewall as a service? Maybe you have some requirements or some needs, some wishes. For example, you want to see where is your traffic coming from and where is it going to. Maybe you want to see that the countries, like the regions, where's my traffic coming from and going to, like inbound, outbound. Maybe you want to block unnecessary countries because you don't expect any traffic going to or coming from. The same is for open ports and also for accessed domain names, what you would like to do with a firewall. But additionally, we also have attack defense, so you can also protect your workloads from intrusions and also for antivirus from network side of view. Also, maybe you are even required to have an intrusion detection system like the Cloud Firewall. If you are from the payment card industry and you are required to comply to the PCI DSS. Also, the IT Security Act is required for CRITIS, like for critical operators like hospitals. They are even enforced legally to use an attack detection system, meaning it's an intrusion detection system. Also, complying to GDPR is an interesting, and necessary point where it's requiring appropriate technical and organizational measures where an intrusion detection would pay into. So what are the key features of our new Cloud Firewall service? First of all, we have the firewall in two ways. We have the internet border firewall, sometimes called north-south traffic, so from the internet to your VPC, and also the VPC to VPC firewall, so east-west traffic from left to right. Next is traffic analysis and access control policies. You can see where your traffic is coming from and going to, and you can, of course, block and allow it based on 5-tuple access policies. Then we have antivirus and intrusion prevention mechanisms, which will be shown later also live. Then this all is aggregated in a security dashboard, and of course there are alarms, so you can you will be notified if there are attacks or even unprotected IP addresses. With that, I would say let's stop the PowerPoint for now and we go into the system. So I switch to our console. Here in this point of view, I'm currently logged in directly to the OTC, and I have opened up the Cloud Firewall dashboard. When Cloud Firewall is released, you can also, of course, get access to it via identity and access management. So you can provide access with the default policies or create a custom policy to fine granularly control who has access to. When you open up Cloud Firewall and you have created an instance like I did, it's like 2 days out now, an overview about the last IPs, so how many are unprotected, it's 0, so I protected everything, and how many VPCs, this is still 0 because I didn't set up the VPC to VPC firewall. We excluded this part from this webinar due to time restrictions. Then you get an overview, first of all, about the operations, the blocked accesses from the access control. Maybe there are already some attacks which have been blocked, the peak outbound and inbound traffic, and you can see this time-wise on this graph for 1 hour or for the last 24 hours. And you can then also select, for example, for which IP address I want to show the traffic on the dashboard. On the bottom, you can see also the attack distribution over the period of time, where attacks have been blocked or allowed, and also the same for the access control. On the right side, you see some details about it, the flavor and how many quotas are open or left open. And I would say I will go to the next point, which is assets. So the firewall protects EIPs, elastic IPs. These are now all IPs in this tenant. So it's of course integrated, and you can directly see all IP addresses here and associated instances. This could be a cloud server or a load balancer. These IP addresses are already protected, so you can, when you first start, they are unprotected, just select all and enable the protection. A cool new feature is also the auto protect for new elastic IPs. That means whenever you create a new ELB or ECS, for example, with a new elastic IP, they're automatically added to the Cloud Firewall. Then we have the inter-VPC firewall, which can be set up here. Like said, we exclude this for now. Next, we are coming to the access control. This starts with the access control policies. Here you get an overview of what rules you have set up They are prioritized here according from top to bottom. So the first one is assessed and executed first, and then the last one. One hint, generally, this setup is only for demonstration purposes. You can see I have set some block actions and lastly allow everything. That is, of course, not security best practice. You wouldn't do it in another way, like allowing what is needed and then block everything else. Let's just come how a rule works. So if I click on add a new role, I can firstly select if it's inbound and outbound. Then I can set the source. It could be just one IP address or IP address group. For example, I created an IP address group. I will show it later. Or you can also select countries and regions. For example, you can say, okay, I do not expect traffic from, let's all together. For example, from Asia. I do not expect traffic from Asia, so I can block everything which is coming from there for any destination, for example, or any service in any application. So what is the destination? The same as the source. I can enter IP address or IP address group. Because it's integrated in the protected EIPs, I can already see my servers or ELBs, and I can select them directly. Then for the service, we can select ports or port ranges, TCP, UDP, how we expect it, or service groups, like you group them together. There are some predefined, like the web service for port 80 and 443, for example. And for application, there's the same. You can, when I go to the service and select, for example, the service group web service, select any of this application like HTTP, HTTPS, and so on. Then you can block or allow it. And you can also give some tags, and you can change the priority. That is basically how an access policy is working. So let's go back to the overview. What have I set up here? For example, I set up a protection rule to block anything coming from nasty IPs. Nasty IPs is an object group which I created. So if I go to object groups, I can define IP address groups, domain name groups, and service groups. For example, the IP address groups here, nasty IPs, if I click on it, it's just a list of IPs I maintain manually. The same I can do for domain names. I did one for Microsoft.com. Just for example, I have some Windows servers and I block access to every Microsoft.com domain. The same is for service groups. You can add a service group containing of different protocols and ports. There are also, like I said, predefined service groups, for example, for a web service, which includes then port 80, 443, and 8080. If I go back to the access policies, you can see here I blocked, for example, inbound from nasty IPs. Outbound, I changed to application domain name group, meaning if I'm in the virtual machine, for example, want to access Microsoft.com, this access is directly blocked on the machine. For outbound, for example, I can block everything from let's say, countries or region I do not expect traffic from. For example, here it's Asia, Antarctica, South America, and so on. And here's just a route to allow everything, which you would basically never do, but it's just to show some values in the policy assistant and in the dashboard. Then you can also add a blacklist, meaning this IP addresses are always blocked no matter what. And the same is then for the whitelist. Let's come to the next point. It's a policy assistant. This helps you in identifying how the policies are triggered or applied. Just one step back. For the policies you get here, the hits. That means how often have this policy been triggered. Of course, if I allow everything, yeah, this one has been triggered almost 600,000 times. If I go to the policy assistant, I can see the total hits of all policies, how much have been allowed and blocked, what is the allow policy with the most hits and the block policy with the most hits. And then you can here visualize, see the distribution about allowing and blocking. Usually blocking should be more higher, but like I said, it's just for demo purposes. Then you can also have it visualized by some time ranges to see what are the top policies which have been hit, what are the blocked outbound IP address and the blocked inbound, what are the blocked ports, for example, here 443, and what are the blocked regions. So most of the traffic is going or not going because it's blocked to Ireland and the United States. You could also then later on see inactive policies. That means if you create a policy to block something or allow and it's basically never triggered, you will see them popping up on different timelines, like it's inactive for 1 week, 1 month, and so on. Basically, this concludes now the part for the access control. Now we come to the deeper interesting stuff, which is the attack defense, which will be done by my colleague Sebastian. So I'm happy to see what you show us.
Thank you, Tino. Well, attack defense, right? Let's have a look on this one. And I will later on go to the role of an attacker basically, but let me show first what can we set up, right? So we have the protection mode and the intrusion prevention that we can set up. So I selected the correct Cloud Firewall, and then I can decide, okay, do I really want to intercept stuff or do I only want to observe, right? I can also choose between different interception modes, strict, moderate, and loose. And you can see in the basic protection here the reviews, and it also shows you what is the current action for specific stuff, right? So for example, I have here some Trojan virus that would currently only be observed because I chose observe. And I also see what is the rule group in which it shows me which rule group do I need to choose to really block it, right? Because if I now choose the loose protection, it will still only observe this one because I need to choose the strict. But I can here also filter. I can say, show me the rule group that is in low, and I see, okay, for example, these vulnerabilities here will be blocked already if I choose the lowest rule group before the intrusion prevention. But nevertheless, currently I'm in only observe. I can still go in here and say, oh, this one I'm interested in, Joomla 3.4.6 remote code execution vulnerability. I use this one, I want to intercept it anyway, right? I can say, okay, intercept it, please, right? I can change the behavior here of the basic protection for all these types. Choosing that, going back to, I can also go to everything to default. I can select different multiple entries and change the settings here. Going back, for example, if I now say, okay, interception mode is now strict, you will also see here the current action is now intercepting. Right? So it updates this information, so you can all the time go here and see what happened, what is now the action that will be triggered if I choose the current. Let's go to observe back for presentation mode, presentation parts, right? Because I'd like to now jump into the console. I have set up two VMs, right? Two VMs and different VPCs and different security groups. So there's actually, the security group for both is basically open, right? They can communicate with each other. Let me switch to root for now on both machines, and then I can try something out, because let's try to connect from this machine, from machine 1 to machine 2. Let me check the IP address of machine 2, and sorry for switching around, and oops, sorry, I want to SSH. Oh, it doesn't work because I only allowed public key actions. Okay, what do I do to access this? Oh, let me set up a reverse shell. I will not hack this right now. I prepared something. I will just set up the listener here, and I will just create the reverse shell here on this via command line, and you see, okay, I got the connection. Great, right? Okay, who am I? Oh, I'm root, because I created this as a root. On which machine am I? Oh, it's the Linux CFW test 2, this one, right? Great. Let's see what is existing here. Oh, there's a text file. Lovely, works, right? I'm on this machine right now. Not so nice, right? Not so nice. What can I do now? Let me download some virus, right? Well, let me curl for the ICAR. I don't want to download the real virus right now. Let's use the default test virus. Got it. Okay, I got this is the expected result if you download it, right? Okay. Let's have a look on the Cloud Firewall, because this is obviously an attack, right? Someone is trying to put some workload on my to download some virus on my machine. And you can see it here in the log queries then in Cloud Firewall. Oh, something happened. The rule ICAR antivirus test file detected was triggered. Well, it's low risk, it's a test file, right? And this is the IP, this destination IP. And I can here also go in. It's allowed because it only observed, right? And I can have here have a look, detailed look. Okay, what was the source IP address? Which port was used? I downloaded it via HTTP, right? And that's the payload we also already saw in the on the machine itself. Okay. Now it only showed it here. Now I can go to the attack defense again. Let me have a look on the ICAR rule. That was just shown before that it's triggered. Okay, this is the ICAR rule. Rule group is strictly. Okay, it's only observing. Okay, let's go here and go to intercept mode strict because I don't want to allow that happening. Now I can go back to my machine. Let's do the same again. Sorry, that was. Now I need to do it again. Sorry. Still on the same machine. Okay, I will do it again, and you see, I can't. Right? It's not letting me. Before we got the response I was expecting, and that this website also gives out. Okay, that will be the response. I don't get it. Right. So I can go back to the Cloud Firewall, have a look on the log query, and I will see, okay, I again had the ICAR antivirus deletion test file detected, but this time I got a block, right? So that's how it works, right? It also works the same way for real viruses, for real attack scenarios. All right, what else can we do? We have the intrusion prevention here. It's intercepting now. Under advanced, you have some lovely thing called reverse shell defense. Maybe I want to say, I don't want to allow that there's a reverse shell opened at all. Let's say I want to block them for 600 seconds. If someone opens a reverse shell, or the system detects a reverse shell on my system. Let's apply that. And have a look on it, then on the system, what happens here. Let's go back here. Right, we are still here. I can even create a new. Hold on, let's have a look on this. Did we have a look on the blob.txt? I don't know. Oh, yes, I think. Oh, it closed, right? Because it detected this reverse shell and it pushed me out of the system. Going back to the log query again, I can see, oh, there's a hijacking attack. A reverse shell was detected. What was the action? He blocked the IP address. Let's have a view on look on this again. Okay, reverse shell attack, source IP address. There's we have some proxies in between. That's why I have another source IP right now. Destination IP address is the same. So attack payload. Oh yes, this was the last command he identified, and that was cutting off. Right. So that's this part. Can go to the log audit. It shows me then also someone from a blacklisted IP tried to access my system again, right? So the IP I used before was put on the blacklist and is now blocked from accessing or blocked from accessing at all this machine. Right? So this you see the reverse shell is not working. How does this logging work in general? Well, we can also have a look on access logs, right? That's too much because I opened them up for everything. You see, I get connections from basically everywhere. So it would be difficult to now get the accesses I had before from this. But what happened here is basically using LTS integration, right? So you can also set up your LTS streams here and forward this, for example, to a VM if you want to analyze these attack logs as well, right? So if you're using LTS anyway for this, great, then you can just feed these log information from Cloud Firewall also to LTS and analyze it then wherever you want to. If you don't want to, because you don't want to manually assess these traffic logs, your attack logs, right? You want to have it automated in the best way. So LTS using this, sending this to a VM, for example, would be the best way. I skipped now one part here, which is the traffic analysis. You saw before from Tino, you saw the policy assistant where you already got some information, right? In the traffic analysis, we now can get some more, still also the traffic that happened, also the amount of traffic, but also the accesses. Okay, I got 151 accesses from this one IP. I can directly jump into the logs if I want to have this, if I want to see that. I can go here, and I will be forwarded to the log query and get the information here. Okay, that is the log file with all the filters set already to this specific action. Right? And that's the same for all the UIs here. You can click everywhere. You can click on, let's say, Russia, and I get the information about accesses from Russia to my VM. Of wherever else I want to, right? I can see, okay, who tried to, who created some traffic on port 22, who tried to access me on port 22 via SSH, stuff like that, right? So you can, this is seamless integrated, so you can go here and directly access the information you want to have. Also giving you some listed information afterwards, but yeah. Same then also for the outbound traffic, if you have some, right? If well, you see the top access domain name is the csmtestcenter.org, where I try to where I downloaded the ICA test file, right? You can see this, and here we can directly jump into the logs as well and see, okay, what happened? Someone tried to did that, and yeah, what ports were used? What was the source IP? What is the destination IP? So to have that as here as well. Short information also about system management parts. So what can you do? You can also have alarming setup, right? You can have, I enabled everything, right? I just reused my SMN from the HSS webinar, so don't worry about that. You can set up your own recipient groups then also using SMN, the simple message notification service, and set up, okay, you want to get this via SMS, via email as usual, and then define, okay, on which level I want to have it. Do I want to have it only in specific time ranges? What is the trigger condition? So do I want to be informed about every single attack? Or is it something, okay, I only want to have it like every few minutes if there is some high amount of attacks or occurrences, and then select the recipient group as usual to get the information there sent to you. You can also set it up for, okay, there are some EIPs not protected because maybe you don't have enabled the auto protection, right? And someone is creating a new IP and you want to be informed if this is not protected, right? Then, well, DNS, you can set up your default DNS servers. That's not that interesting, but you can also create some reports. Let's say I want to have a look on the latest report for that is created on a daily basis. You can download that, of course, and I see, okay, I have some critical stuff here that might be familiar with you from the traffic analyzer I showed before. Top attacks was, okay, blacklist IP, surprise, right? I set up also some block YouTube rule before. You can also do that. I'll show you afterwards shortly. Do I have time for that? Yeah, I think so. Tried some other downloading some Black Sun anti malware, right? Ransomware virus. So this is showing it here, giving a good overview what happened, what was the trend. I get in information how many of my EIPs are correct protected. So giving some overall information about this, what happened there. Then, last but not least, I think let's talk about this, what I said before with the block YouTube, because you can basically in the intrusion prevention, in the intrusion prevention, you can add also custom IPS signatures. Right? You can add here whatever you want, basically. What I did before, I just did the same that Tino did before, also already in the access control, which is way easier to set up, to be honest, right? To set it up there. But you can here also say server to client, HTTP, I don't everything, and I want to intercept, and then say, okay, if here is youtube.com in the content, maybe even case sensitive, then block it, please, right? But you can here add whatever you want in a common IPS signature format, protocol type you want to use, whether it's server to client, client to server, whatever you choose, right? Access control, vulnerability scans, different attack types here that you can set up custom IPS signatures for, custom IPS rules basically to match your needs, match your protection needs. You can also say, okay, I'm only interested for protecting Linux systems, right? Only for different specific services, only for specific risk levels, and give it a name, put it in there, and then give it a go, and you can watch it in the log audit, in the log query then as well, being triggered. Right? So that's basically it from my side, from the system directly. I hope it was interesting for you to get a look on how it works. Handing back to Tino. Tino, I'm not 100% sure right now whether you have some additional slides to show. I think you have, right?
So nice. Yes, I have. Thanks for showing that. So we are done with the live demo. I would say let's come to some takeaways. What have we learned so far? First of all, I would like to sum up 3 major use cases for the Cloud Firewall. Below you can see an architecture diagram consisting of 3 VPCs in 2 different regions. Firstly, when you have Cloud Firewall, you want to control incoming traffic. That could be, firstly, let's say easily one, the access control, which you can set specifically, but you also want to protect your workload against attacks like worms, zombies, whatever. For that one, security groups are not sufficient. I will come to a comparison later. Meaning if you have internal attacks to a web server, for example, you use the Cloud Firewall to block them either via access control because you block the country, for example, specifically, or via intrusion prevention. Secondly, you also may want to control outgoing traffic, meaning you also want to block access to specific IP address groups or ports or countries, whatever. So if any server, for example, if it is intruded already, wants to go out to talk to other servers, websites, you also want to block that via the Cloud Firewall. Third one is inter-VPC access control. So you may have, like we see on this architecture diagram, several VPCs, and you want to restrict traffic between them. Also, that one can be protected by the Cloud Firewall. So these are the 3 major use cases: traffic coming in, going out from the internet side, so north-south, and also between VPCs is this east-west scenario I talked about. Also, let's talk about how this integrating or enhancing our landscape, our portfolio so far. So we have already implemented several security services. Important to know about Cloud Firewall, it is providing network-based intrusion detection and prevention. And we have just released HSS, host security service, which is providing host-based intrusion detection. So if you combine both together, you marry them and use both services, you have the complete package of intrusion prevention in your landscape from the system perspective and from the network perspective. Additionally, one topic I want to discuss is about security groups, which you can set up in your VPC. You may say, okay, I have security group that is sufficient. I just want to explain why it's not and compare both of them. First of all, it's the protected objects. So with the security groups, you can protect the ECS, so the network from the ECS. The Cloud Firewall, you have the complete elastic IP package, let's say, which is including the ECS, but also the load balancer. And you can also control traffic between VPCs and via SNAT. Next thing is filtering. Cloud Firewall has 5-tuple filtering. So you can specifically say from this IP and this port, with this protocol to this IP and this port. For the security group, you can only specify protocol port and IP. Next thing is filtering, for example, geographical locations, a domain name, like we saw Microsoft.com or YouTube.com, for example, or you have a blacklist of any nasty IPs, for example. This feature is also not available for security groups. And lastly, but also very, very important, most importantly, intrusion prevention and antivirus protection that is not included in security groups. They cannot identify any attack. One important topic I mentioned in the beginning is compliance. So if you are in the payment card industry, you are even required to use an intrusion detection or prevention system. Secondly, if you provide or operate critical infrastructure, since last year you are also required to use an attack detection system, which is basically an intrusion detection system. And last but not least, the GDPR or DSGVO in Germany, they require appropriate technical and organizational measures to protect personal data, especially if you work with sensitive data. And intrusion detection is basically state of the art and standard as of today. Also, I would like to give you a brief overview about where we are positioning ourselves in the market, where are our competitors. Firstly, looking at the big hyperscalers. I have distributed it between Cloud Firewall. This is meaning this 5-tuple access control policies, and intrusion prevention, blocking attacks and antiviruses. Provide the professional version of Cloud Firewall, which is including both. This is the only flavor we provide today. And the other cloud providers have different levels, starting from basic or essentials, or how you call it, to premium and enterprise. If you really want the full intrusion prevention package, you usually need to go to premium and enterprise, for example, from Google, or advanced inspection endpoint on AWS side. But our main competitors, because we are from Europe for Europe, are the European clouds. Here, basically, we have a unique setting point with Cloud Firewall. Some competitors have some, let's say, rudimentary possibilities to set up some access control policies, but none of them have the possibility to block attacks via intrusion prevention. So we are basically the only European cloud providing such service to our end customers. Lastly, about pricing. The service is billed per hour and per gigabyte of traffic. It's 124 euro per hour and 6 cents per gigabyte. With this pricing, for example, you have one instance running with 500 gigabyte traffic coming in and out. You're about 942 euro 50. That's still cheaper than Azure and Google. So we are positioning ourselves in the same price area. Availability, this service is basically nearly availability. So we have planned the release for starting next year, mid of January. The prices will come into the service description basically next week. And with that, we will have the complete package available for you starting mid of January. Basically, this then also concludes our webinar presentation for today. And if you have any questions, let them know directly to me. Send me an email, just contact me somehow. You can also use the community, of course, to ask questions. There's also even a blog describing what we have showed today. And with that, I would say thank you.
Thank you a lot, Tino, for having you here. Thank you a lot, Sebastian, for having you here, presenting your topics about the Cloud Firewall service. So then, as usually, you can then find the shown slides in the community portal as a comment to the event posting. So when you want to look anything up there, you have the possibility. We also included this time some screenshots of the live demo, which show more or less the same what was also shown here live and in action, but on slide level. So stay tuned for this. And with this, Thank you a lot, everybody who have joined today, and hopefully see you in one of the next webinars. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye.